Welcome to the Fempire podcast for women building empires where your health, relationships, and wealth rise together. I am your host, Jessica Joy. Let's sharpen the axe and dive in. Today's episode, we have Gabi Metz, who is a personal brand strategist, and she helps online coaches position their brand in a way that really attracts committed long-term clients, whether that's into their masterminds, group programs, one-to-one. She is the founder of Soul Brand, has nearly a decade of experience in brand strategy with global brands like Converse, Adidas, and Lacoste, and is really helping leaders not just sell their expertise, but create brands that people want to be a part of, have proximity to, and stay. And so, Gabi, welcome. We're so excited to showcase you and learn more about your expertise. Thanks for being here.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thanks for having me, Jess.
Yes, absolutely. So you and I talked a bit before about what you do, but let our audience know, like, how did you get into what you do and what are you truly up to in the world?
Well, like probably most of your listeners, I'm an online coach. And so I've been doing coaching now. I'm going on my 5th year, which feels really, really wild. And so I started in the pandemic like many people. I used to be a little yoga teacher who took her business online, but I actually have well, as you mentioned, I've actually got a big history in marketing and PR, in branding and I've worked on a lot of cool brands previously. And so what I did was I drew on all of that knowledge that I had and I started helping yoga teachers market themselves online. But more specifically, I mean, obviously, as you know, our work evolves over time. So I'm no longer just working with yoga teachers. And I'd say that, my work really, really deepened about a year and a half ago, where I was just another business coach teaching you how to make 10K months and how to scale your offer suite to 6 figures. And it really wasn't until I broke down in a masterclass because I just felt like I cannot talk about this anymore. I was hosting a masterclass and all the little Zoom ping pong ding dongs were coming off and my heart was beating and I was like, I cannot have this conversation anymore. And it was really a moment where I was like, I'm either going to open up and share from my truth and really start doing the work that I feel truly embodied in, which is really helping people fill the offers that change lives, like masterminds, group coaching programs with clients who actually are committed and they want to stay, because that's been my experience. Like, I've got people who are going into mentorship with 3 years with me, which is absolutely insane. And it's just the most incredible, I think, as a coach to be able to cultivate these deep, beautiful relationships with long-term clients, because that's when we really see the shifts and the changes that we're able to make. And so I'd say that that's probably the pivotal moment of how I really got into this specific line of work where I am now.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you come on, because I love the positioning around long-term coaching. Like, that's where things really blossom, and the ability, that it speaks volumes about the work that you do. It's social proof in and of itself when somebody's staying with you 3 to 4 years. And the Fempire podcast is all about how can we have all aspects of our life elevate. It's like, how can our business elevate, our health, our relationships, our wealth? And so doing it in a way that, long-term clients, how fulfilling, how rewarding, how impactful. And then I also think you're so great at brand strategy. It's just like, how can we make that, positioned in a unique way? So what do you feel like you do differently that really helps your clients be set up for success?
Well, I love this question so much. So I have to say, I think that it is one of the things that I'm really good at is pattern identification and brand elevation and being able to pair the two together. So when I say pattern identification, like, are you a Tony Robbins fan? I've got a feeling that you probably are a Tony Robbins fan. Yeah. Okay. I am obsessed with Tony. Like, last year I did Unleash the Power Within. I actually did it online and had to wake up at 1 a.m. because in Auckland, New Zealand, our time zone, like, they didn't love us. Anyway, I digress. But one of the things that I learned from him was about patterns and how these subconscious patterns that we have been programmed and wired since we were little babies, essentially, are really the things that run our life. And I found that so fascinating that I actually went and I did mentoring with a coach who actually teaches you how to become a better coach. And in that, I really learned about patterns and I learned how to really support my clients in getting to the root of their problems, being able to spot a limiting belief within seconds, flip it on its head, and then they go and blow up the strategy 10 times faster. And so I'd say that when it comes to my strengths in coaching, it's definitely being able to pattern interrupt and brand elevate at the same time. Because I find that for somebody to step into really the truth of who they are in their brand, in their values, their beliefs, and what they stand for, there's often this fear of, am I good enough? Or who am I to lead this? Or what will other people think? And so I believe that when we're able to disrupt the patterns that are really holding you back and then elevate your brand, that's when you're going to attract the most amazing, deeply committed clients into your long-term spaces. And you just, at best, like you build this brand where you're not afraid to be seen. You literally are creating huge impact with your work, and it's just the most rewarding thing. So, yeah.
Gabby, I just had a huge light bulb from that
Mm,
because as a brand strategist, you're saying one of the first steps is clearing the patterns to uncover what your brand really needs to be, instead of just going straight to, okay, what are you excited about? You
mm,
know, what lights you up? That's pretty typical. Or who do you want to help? It's like, what do we actually need to clear away to get? And I think, of course, that would, catapult somebody's brand. That's the brands that do the best, are the
yes.
ones where, man, you just feel it deep in their gut that like they're meant to lead this. But if there's, yeah, okay, okay. So I definitely see one thing you do differently. Amazing. Man, do you find that people know internally? Like, how do you kind of unlock that within them? Have you
It's
found any
interesting.
patterns within that process?
You know what? I think it's really interesting, and it's probably something that I think as coaches, a lot of us actually do subconsciously. But in the language that we use, I find that there's a lot of hidden nuggets there already because we actually, and I think that it's a safety mechanism. I haven't, in triple transparency, I haven't studied it to the degree where I can say to you, like, this is exactly what it is. But in my experience, what I find with a lot of clients is that they use a lot of protective words that are going to kind of keep them safe from people really discovering the real problem, right? So it's like they'll come to me and they'll say, yeah, like I just feel really stuck, or I don't think people are ready for that yet, or I don't know if that's really interesting enough. And like that language to me already signals things that there's a limiting belief. So when you say you're not interesting enough, like interesting compared to who or compared to what? Like when you say that you're stuck, like what specifically are you stuck in? Like tell me what stuck looks like. And when we start there and we're able, I look at it as like when you go to the doctor and, he says, you say, maybe I've got a headache or I've got like a runny nose or something. He's going to start asking you a lot of questions before he actually gives you a prescription for something. And I think that in the same way with coaching, at least in the way that I coach, is that it's like, well, before I'm going to say, yeah, this is going to be an amazing like brand for you, or let's do this or let's do that. Like, let's actually diagnose what the things are that are actually stopping you from really stepping into the truth of who you are. And then B, from there, let's actually unravel the truth of who you are and bring that forward. And that's what makes it so much more powerful.
Yeah, so aligned. That makes so much sense. I think that's absolutely the first step. It's the same thing with health. It's like you have
Yes.
to assess like what's not working, what's, limiting you. And then
Mm.
from there, it's like you can't just put strategy on top of things that aren't working so well, or like you said, anchored in the truth. Okay, so what I'm kind of curious. I want to keep going down like the journey of this. So let's say they get their brand going. What are some, because you're so good at the long-term relationships, I'm curious, what are some elements that you think are really important in cultivating that? Obviously,
Inter-
like having big ahas from the beginning. They're like, wow, Gabby, like one session with her, but what else?
Well, I think that it actually, this is the thing, right? Is that like when a lot of people come to me, it's also not necessarily that people are not buying. Like a lot of my clients, they're established coaches. They've been doing this for a hot minute. And so they've built a lot of authority. They know what to post. They post consistently, all the right types of content. They're selling from all the right angles on their stories. And they're coming because they're like, yeah, I know what to do, but people are buying, but they find that people are more inclined to buy their $33 masterclass or their instant access courses. Like they're not getting more of the right clients and their masterminds aren't filling like crazy or their one-to-ones because they feel like they're missing. Obviously, we all feel like we're missing some form of strategy, right? So like that's where it comes to. So I'd say firstly, like the quote unquote secret to actually cultivating and having long, deep relationships with your clients who come in and they resign before their contracts ends actually starts with the type of person that you're attracting into these spaces in the first place. Because a buyer who is not necessarily looking for a long-term mentor for whatever reason. They're more inclined to, like I said, buy the mid-ticket offers. But there are people every single day, I know because I buy like this, like I have got no desire to like coach hop and I've got no desire to like spend hours on Instagram looking on Instagram story who's the best. Like I want to see someone's work, I want to feel activated by it and be like, yeah, I want to walk with you. Like, let's go. I want your highest ticket offer and I want the longest package that you've got. Like that's how I buy. And I know, obviously with my clients too, like I know proof of concept that there are many people like that as well. And so attracting that kind of person is very different. And that's where the stuff really starts, because if we continue to do what we've been doing and post the right content, sell on your stories, send out the emails, whatever, record the podcast, and you make some sales, that's fine. But if you really want to start attracting a different type of client and start cultivating these long, meaningful relationships with them, it really starts with how to attract that person into your space.
Bingo. Yeah, the
Yes.
messaging from the forefront. I'm curious. When you say that, the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, weave that into your messaging, bake that
Mhm.
in. But I feel like that's, not that you need to give your whole strategy, but it can be seeded throughout. But is there a certain way that it's like, how is that message coming across? Like, how do you, not to dive too deep into the how, but,
Yeah. No, I
how do
love
you
this
weave that in
question.
to attract that type of person? Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a great question. And I think that I actually made a post about this the other day, but I think that there's this misconception that people like this, I call them lifelong clients or deeply committed clients, but people who are actively looking for long-term mentorship are not necessarily looking for quote unquote the best coach, right? Like this is where I feel a lot of people get it wrong. And this is why a lot of people are so focused on being like the quote unquote the expert or the authority. And so they stuff themselves into frameworks because it's like, I have to get it right so that she buys, or they are calling out the industry and calling out other people in their niche because quote unquote that makes them look like an authority. And so they are doing these things, which is fine. And those are strategies that work. I'm not saying that they don't work to a degree. But this person, there's really three things that they're looking for. The first thing is that they're really looking to feel connected to a leader that they can evolve alongside as they grow and they become a leader. In terms of where it is like, and when I say leadership, like conversations we need to start having if you want to bring people like this into your work is, well, how are you leading yourself? Are you bringing for these conversations of your values, the standards that you hold for yourself? Obviously, as in the business coaching niche, it might be the standards that you hold for the clients that you bring in. In health coaching, even, it doesn't matter. Can you talk about your fears and your challenges and how you move through those in real time? Like these conversations that, if you think about it, someone who really wants long-term mentorship is looking for, because she doesn't want the best. She wants someone who can lead her. And it's a very, very different distinction. When you're able to master bringing those stories into your content, into your work, into your offers, the way that you sell, that's when you're going to find you actually start to attract more of the right people into your work. And the other thing that I would say is really focusing on your positioning. Like, is your brand actually positioned to extract your one of a kind genius, your true leadership, your story, and your unique lens on the conversation and bring that forward. Like if we look at what I do, there are so many people that teach business and there's nobody like I'm really not teaching you. I teach it differently, but I'm not teaching you anything that you don't know, right? Like you know how to post content, create offers, sell them, launch them. But my lens on the conversation is different because I believe that we're going to create more impactful, meaningful, richer businesses by doing it this way as opposed to like whatever Susie's way or Jane's way. So there's that aspect. And the last one I would say, and this is a big one, is are you just selling and launching offers that your mentor told you to make because this is going to be really profitable for you? Or are you actually cultivating a world where somebody wants to grow inside there forever? Like, do you create experiences like brand experiences, like when you go into Louis Vuitton or when you go into wherever? It's like, do you allow them to feel seen and valued and really evolve and shift their identities in these spaces?
I'm kind of curious on your take on this.
Hmm.
As far as like business coaching, where do you feel like it's moving? Like what do you think it's going to take it's always evolving, right?
Mm.
Where do you think the industry's going? Where do you want to go with it?
Mm, I love this question. So I really think that the age and stage of women, look how much money I've made,
Mm,
is dying. I think that people are less interested about how much money you're making and they're more interested in the impact that you create with the money that you make. I think that we are moving less away from this performed authority in the sense of always having to be this expert or perceived as perfect or whatever that even means in the online space. And I really believe, and I mean, we can see like TikTok's not going anywhere, but there are a lot of business owners and creators and entrepreneurs that I know who are moving away from Instagram onto TikTok because they feel like they can be free, they can be themselves, they can
mm,
talk, they can share. And so I think we're going to see a lot of that coming even more over, well, at least on Instagram where I mostly am, but a lot of people are craving more authenticity. They're craving depth. They're craving realness. And I believe that in the next couple of years, maybe even months, who knows, but that's going to be the conversation that people are really wanting to have and bringing that forward. Your stories, who you are at the core, like they don't just want to know that you can teach them stuff. Like they just don't want more information. Like we're in the information age of ChatGPT and hello, we're not short of
mm.
information. They want to know the story behind the woman behind the brand. That's what they're here for.
Yeah. I think you're spot on. And it was a good nod to TikTok that I've seen people use that space and more.
Yeah.
It's just a little more unleashed. It's less
Yeah.
curated. And I so align with it's like you need to position yourself as an expert, but how expert can somebody be in like a couple of years? It's like, okay, we're still humans. We're not perfect, but yes, we have these certain elements. And if you're a powerful leader, like that's a huge piece of it, like people embodying their own leadership. Anyway, so it's just getting my wheels turning about what you said. I think you do such a beautiful job at speaking authentically, but making the conversation powerful. Here's a question for you. If people are wanting to lean into this, and even for me, like sometimes I can get stuck in a few frameworks because it's like, okay, I'm familiar with this type of, okay, if I use this framework for this post, and this is my authority post, and this is my story post, I'm more free now. But I remember when I was first starting,
Mm.
like, shoot, have you found ways that help you? Just unleash, be more free. Is it jumping to a new platform? So it's like a big permission slip to just let it flow. How could somebody be supported in transitioning into like a more authentic, less
Mm.
thinking about, okay, is this positioning me my authority in the best possible way? Or am I being, controversial enough? Or, what
I,
works for you?
I love that
Yeah.
question. So, and in full transparency, I will say this is that they are not, it's not like I'm perfect. And there are days where I'm like, I need to maybe, yeah, do like more problem awareness or this or that. So I do have my moments like most humans do. But one of the things that I've really learned to cultivate in my own content, and I'm seeing, I went back and I actually studied my content like a nerd, but I went back and I studied my content from 2, 3 years ago. And I studied it from times where I was popping off and celebrating some of the highest cash months of my life. And I could see where I was dipping versus where I was like absolutely killing it. And one of the things that came through in like a common pattern was that, and this is now what I endeavor to do in all my content from here on out and what I do, is that I treat it more like a lived journey. That's the place that I'm sharing from, as opposed to here are the different 5 types of different content that I need to post. So, what do I mean by this? Like, I will take something that, for example, right? Like, I could take this interview that we're having on the podcast, and easily I could turn this into a carousel post on like, I was on this podcast and she asked me my take on like where I see the industry going in the next 5 years. And here are my thoughts. And then boom, I've got like thought leadership, I've got authority, I've got all of those things. And it's like my lived felt stuff, but it's drawing on my journey. It's drawing on my experience. In the same way, I could have a call with a client and it could be like, yeah, here's what was coming up for her. Or she's like celebrating something. And I'm like, yeah, this client's celebrating the highest cash month of her life, but that's not even what the real thing is. Like, here's what she's doing. And so it's just because I think as long as I am evolving, as long as I am committed to making my life a masterpiece, as long as I am committed to being the best version of myself, why would I not extract from my journey? Because there's always going to be the most amazing, beautiful things happening. So I feel like when we can, and that's truth, right? Truth is the highest frequency. So when we extract and we create from that place, because you know what to do, you know how to put the frameworks inside, you weave in your strategy, but now we're drawing it from this place of like lived truth. And I think that that's, at least for me, the most fun way to actually do it.
Yes, weaving in the lived experience. That's it. It's so true. Truth is the highest frequency. It's like you
Yeah.
can just feel it. And that's what you do with people's brands. Like you're stripping
Yeah.
away what's not true. It all makes sense. So, what is like one thing you want people to know about building a business that's one, successful, but two, you feel good running it, you feel aligned, and it's creating the impact you want? Like, what is something you just really want to get across in regard to this work?
Yeah, I think that, I think one of the things that I would probably say is that if you want to wake up every single day and you want to feel alive in your work, you want to feel like you're creating something with purpose, like you want your work to reach the masses and impact thousands and really, in the same way, know your clients' names and have these deep, beautiful relationships with them and watch them shift at an identity level and you become an expanded mentor, you become a better person. The one thing that I wish, and it's my wish for every coach who's on the internet and coming onto the internet and all the things, is that you see that vulnerability is not weakness, that you being a human and you being able to turn your fears and challenges into powerful stories are the exact reason why your most deeply committed client is going to fall in love with you and hire you for the long term and walk alongside you through everything. And I think the second that we can really lean into that conversation, you become so free because you've got nothing to hide. You've got nothing to feel ashamed of, right? Like all of that pressure that we put on ourselves to look a certain way, to be perfect, to have this extraordinary life, to whatever it is, all of that falls away when we can just allow ourselves just to be who we are and know that that's enough. And I feel like that is the key to just having all of these amazing things happening in our business.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. It's such a domino of one, it gives your clients permission to go through fears and challenges, see you go through it. No, they don't have to be perfect. It creates like, it's we always want an empowered story with ourselves. We're not going to be perfect. So, that's just really changing the narrative. Like we've been
Yeah.
kind of operating from, okay, I need to get, it could even start in grade school where it's like, okay, I need to get great grades. And oh, I did a bad job. And it's like, no, we're all just learning.
Yeah.
Like, it's like we're learning. Either you're winning or you're learning a lesson, which is also winning. But I like the transparency about the fears and the challenges, how you're walking through them. I see how that would be so magnetic for people and it would attract people who are willing to look at their own fears and challenges, which are the clients who are going to get the best results, you know, have,
Yes.
some like moments together and see them have some massive progress and breakthroughs. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. There is so much wisdom in here that is so juicy. So I want people to have an opportunity to keep learning from you. Talked about, so Gabby brought a freebie that I have the title, but it is a full on soul brand activation series. It's a private Telegram channel that really helps you said, evolve your brand to
Yes.
like
Yeah.
really connect with the uniqueness of your work. Like, tell us about the benefits they would get from being in there. And it's
Yes.
free.
Yes. I know that everybody might be telegrammed out with like 100 different Telegram broadcast channels and that. And so I was very intentional with just creating something that was potent enough that's going to really help you start attracting the right clients into your masterminds, your group coaching programs, or your one to one. And by really helping you build out your brand to actually evolve your one of a kind leadership and the uniqueness of your work. And so I really created this because as a woman, and I'm sure like the women listening to this, and I'm sure for you too, Jess, like you evolve quickly. What you built is truly amazing, but you're experiencing a lot of inconsistency with how many people are actually moving into the spaces that are really going to change people's lives. And I know that people want to actually have more of these types of clients inside of those offers. And it's not because you're doing anything bad or wrong with your strategy. It's because the brand that you have now just doesn't reflect the leader that you are or the uniqueness of your work. And so that's why we find people opting into maybe the masterclasses or the freebies, but they're not yet coming into the spaces where you know you're actually going to change her life. So I'm going to walk you through 5 different activations that are going to shift the way that you can actually do that and position your brand so that you just become a magnet for the most amazing humans in these spaces.
Yeah, I think that'd be one of the best investments somebody could make.
Yeah.
It's being intentional about what you're attracting, and it starts from
Yes.
so much clarity from within. So, as for accessing that,
Yes.
if you were on the replay, whether you're on social, whether you're an email, just reply Soul Brand and we can get that to you. I will post links. And Gabby, where can they find you?
I am on Instagram. You can find me. It's Gabi Metz. That's really where I am because, yeah, it's just the spot. So if you want to learn more about me, you want to come say hi, I love shock. I love connecting with people in the DMs. It's my favorite thing to do. And so, yeah, that's where you'll find me.
Before we wrap up, is there any last thing you want to share?
Jess, no, I really appreciate you and I appreciate you creating a space like this to have people like me here and just I appreciate your work as well and have loved this conversation. And I think one of the things, maybe the last thing that I will share is that, your story, the story that you have lived every single day, the story that you maybe think is not interesting enough or whatever is coming up for you, the one thing that you are scared that maybe people will find out about, or the one thing that feels like this big dirty secret, like that is going to be the one thing that attracts more of the right clients into your high proximity spaces. And so instead of trying to hide all of these parts of you because of all the stories that you're telling yourself about why this is bad and wrong, I want you to just think and remember that truth is the highest frequency. So go and share your story, and that's it.
Landed. Thank you so
Landed.
much, Gabby. Like, I want the transcript. I'm going to review this myself. It's so good. All right.
That was
What a
amazing.
gift.
Thank you, Jess.
Yes. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you on the other side. Have a good one.